You're tuned in to RX Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RX Radio. Quite a special episode here is myself, Jordan Jiunta. But more importantly, we have James McIntosh on. This is like a flip-flop. You're here every Sunday. This is a Wednesday. Hopefully this goes out Wednesday. But you're here on a Wednesday. I know. It's been a minute since we've been able to do this since we were probably in person in Miami. So it's great to have you here today, man.
It
I
was.
appreciate you taking the time.
Dude, that's like
Yeah.
6 months ago. It
It's
makes me
crazy.
upset
Yeah, time
thinking that it was
flies.
6 months ago.
I know, right? I'll see you in Vegas in a couple months, though, right? That's still happening?
Dude, Vegas is I would miss that even if my girl stopped competing. I'm still getting on the flight. Just
All
to
right.
everything. So dude,
You'll
that's
be there.
9
I'll be there.
weeks.
Yeah.
I'm counting down the days. I got a little day log going on in the top right hand corner of the
Dude, I can't
computer.
wait.
It does its automatic like countdown. Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Amazing. The only
We had
time
Vegas
I
together last
ever
time.
go to Vegas, yeah, the only time I go to Vegas and will go to Vegas is if you're there, apparently.
Okay, yeah.
Great
That's
reason.
fine. We'll do
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So before we get into it, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, everyone. Just to let you know what we have coming up through Prescript in the coming months. The big thing, the more urgent thing, is we have the barbell course with Dr. Jordan Shallow and Dr. Stu Locke. He's not a doctor, but when it comes to the barbell, he might as well be.
Apparently, I was gonna say, apparently you can just throw that out there.
Yeah, on the internet, you can claim anything as long as you don't have anything to
Yeah.
back it up. That's how this works, right? So we have Shallow and Stu Lock. It's a 9-week online course. We have the in-person in Miami. There's still a couple slots available if you guys are local to that area. But check out the online barbell course. That goes live about a week and a half from now. And then upcoming in July, we have a decent amount of new stuff coming, new courses dropping. We have a brand new course. I don't know if I can announce this yet, but I'm going to. Is we have Kyle Baxter has developed a yeah, right. It's my company. I can do what I want.
Surprise!
Kyle Baxter has developed a performance mechanics course addressing biomechanics. There's some hints of pain science, rehab undertones in that, all in the interest of increasing performance from a biomechanical and anatomy standpoint of the way that joints should be working. So we have that dropping in July. Keep your eyes out. If you're not on our email list, go to www.pre-script.com. Sign up for our emails, and you'll get a notification when that goes live. Other than that, we have Phil Smith dropping a sport performance nutrition course in July. And then Killian Hamilton will be running another class of the skill acquisition course. So if you guys are interested, like I said, go sign up for the emailing list on our website, and you get a notification when those go live. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to the more fun stuff, though. Mac, how are things, man? Yeah.
Good, dude. Just obviously, I'm in the future on the other side of the world.
I know.
Training's good, horses are good. I think I think we're starting to see more and more of the impact that we're making as a company start to come through in the industry more, which is always a cool thing to see. Obviously, being I want to say removed from it, going into the United States and then coming back into it, it's cool to see the ripple effect of like how good social media can be. And I think this is a nice thing to see. Sometimes it's a reminder of like, fuck, social media sucks. But at the same time, it can be so good. Like we started to see a lot of like, I want to say our teachings, a lot of the things that we started like pushing out there, and the principles and concepts that we started like, I don't know, trying to get out there, trying to like hopefully get people to understand. Like I came back to Oz and like things were significantly different in a positive way. I think a lot more people are starting to open up their eyes to higher education, higher concepts, higher things to look at. So that was a really cool. That was a very unexpected. Like, oh yay, it's nice to be home. Like he was the best part about getting home. The golden retriever lying on the floor, but the biggest part was like that was a cool concept to see that everything had kind of like gone in that. There's still the stupidity, There's still things kind of going on,
yeah.
but you know what? I think that's the industry from this. That's always going to be the industry, but that's why we're around.
Yeah.
So we can
Yeah,
at least have
exactly.
jobs and
That'll
not have to
never
pack
go
groceries.
Yeah, it's crazy though.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been in the game long enough to go from like the angry person just yelling like "you're all fucking idiots" to like starting to make a change and then being like, you guys kind of got it, but you got it wrong. To now we're on the other
Wrong.
side of
Yeah.
that. It's like, oh shit, like you guys actually fucking nailed it, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
doing a lot of good, and it's really cool to see that. And especially, how long were you out of Oz? Like 6 months, was it? Was it that long?
Yeah. It's like,
When you're in the States?
it was supposed to be a month. It's supposed to be a month, and then I was like,
We won't tell immigration that.
yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
I remember walking through the TSA agent or something, and he's like, "Oh, how long are you gonna be here?" I was like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's like, "Oh, enjoy your stay." Sucks to be you, buddy. I was there for 6 months.
Yeah. Eric
Yeah.
Bagheera, listen up. Did you hear about that? Eric was coming to do a seminar in the States with us in Seattle, which is like still kind of Canada. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm coming for the weekend for work, and they just shut it down right there. Like couldn't get in for 2 days. And then we have this guy here
Just
hopping the border for 6
dude,
months.
literally, it's like I came through and like I sent Shadow a message. I was like, "I'm through." He's like, "What? They've let you in already?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. I just literally walked past. I was like the only person standing at the TSA agent. Had a chat to the dude.
That's
He's just
amazing.
like, he was a bit like sternish, but not. I was like, "Oh, I'll try and
Yeah.
find it on a." He's like, "Just hand me your passport." I was like, "All right, you do whatever you need to do, sir." And that was it. And that was it. It was the same as Marshall. Do you remember this? Is this podcast going to be how to avoid authorities? Because I feel like this is how this.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
That's the way that it's going. What happened with
Just like,
Marshall?
remember
though?
Marshall? Dude, remember when Marshall was coming to Miami? And he got fucking
yeah,
wrapped
dude.
over the knuckles, and he got stuck in a
That's
little.
right.
He got taken to the second room or some shit, and looked through his. You had to send
Yeah.
through a letter. Dude, it was wild. Just don't
That's
mention
right.
the
I
W
forgot. He
word.
said he was like,
Don't be idiots.
yeah, he worked in media. They're like, you can't edit any videos while you're in the United States.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what?
He
Like,
was like, "Oh, I'm
how do you
coming for the
regulate that?
weekend."
Yeah. Oh,
That's it.
whatever.
We're coming for the
It's so
weekend, and like,
stupid.
I might edit some videos. And he's like, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Dead.
So
Dude,
dumb.
that's it.
So dumb.
Just don't
Yeah,
say the
I mean-
W word. Apparently, you probably throw a
Yeah,
bomb or
yeah,
like
that's-
I don't know. See what else goes out
Yeah.
there. They'll be fine.
Yeah, right? As long as you don't say your
Work.
word. So that's it. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. We'll just end this there. That's the valuable takeaway is if you're crossing the border, you're never doing it for work. It's always a birthday.
Yeah, if
That's it. And you always have a return ticket. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
yeah, that's literally. The funny thing is, I was thinking about my dad was like, "Oh, I saw him this weekend," and he's like, "What are you gonna say, like to the agent when you go over to Vegas in whatever, like 9 weeks?" I was like, "I'm going to Vegas to see my friends. I don't want to know anything else." And he's like, "Fair point. Fair point."
I'm
I was
gonna
like, "Are you
do
gonna tell
blow
him you're
all
going for
weekend."
work?"
Like, oh, okay, sir.
Yeah,
Please come to Las Vegas. Welcome.
Yeah, it's literally like I can't edit videos, but I can just do cocaine the whole weekend. Yep, sure, no worries.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
follow on through. So.
Yeah,
Just
thank you for your
providing
tourism,
to the
sir.
economy.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways,
no,
before this goes
nowhere. I thought it was
too
gonna go.
far down the rabbit hole.
Oh god.
So not too long. You're basically my healthcare professional, by the way. We'll preface this by saying that is that not too long ago I got a
Professional, I
blood
like it.
test.
Yes.
Yeah. You're as professional as a person I associate with. But yeah,
that's
not
true.
too long ago I got a blood test. I was interested. I'm turning 33 this month. So I was interested to see what my testosterone
You're the
levels
most hold
were.
on. You're the most handsome
Please.
33-year-old I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot to me, man.
He's just like, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yo, wait. We're not even going to get into the podcast
Sidebar.
today, but I was at James
sidebar.
Marshall's wedding this past weekend. Yeah, sidebar.
Okay.
I got the weirdest compliment I've ever gotten. So James Marshall, he
Okay.
edits the podcast,
Hit
he
me.
edits all of our media stuff, so he sees my face a lot. His brother, who I've never met before, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I've seen your content because James edits it and all this stuff." And he's like, "You got a really strong chin. It's a great chin. I want it on
Oh.
your chin." Which is like, I think that's a great compliment, but I never wanted to get it from James Marshall's brother.
I was about to say, so there's like, he shit sandwiched you because like strong chin
Yeah.
in our world is like, fuck yeah, no one's gonna knock me out, golden. This is the best thing that anyone can tell me. Sit on it, sick. Like, you want to sit on my face? Go for it. Go for it. Don't be James Marshall's brother.
Yeah,
there's the shit sandwich there. Like, you kind of
that's the shit sandwich. Yeah, and it just turns out just all being shit at that point, which is hilarious. I don't even know, dude. I don't even know how I got. Oh, because you call me handsome, and it's like, and that's the point. Is that those two are in the same category for me because I don't know how to respond to either of them. I'm just like, thanks. We gotta go walk this way now. What?
Yeah, I would just thought that was like, it just turned and like gone off in another direction. I mean, there's a lot to that.
There's a lot.
You realize the next time
I'll
I see
unpack
you,
it with my
I'm
therapist later this week. I won't put it on you. Oh my god!
Do you know what? I'm gonna introduce you now with your strong chin to anyone that I can kind of see. That's I see you next. Hi, have you met Jiunta? He has a strong chin. Like that's where we're gonna go. And you know what? You do. And do you know how many people have sent me your little snippets or like replied to my stories about trying to sleep with you through me? And I'm like, guys, we're gonna have to start like an application process at this point.
Please no. This cannot.
I'll vet them. I'll vet them. It'll be fine. Okay. So that's my DMs get hit up for you. It's super. Super.
It's a problem.
It's fine. I'm just like, sorry, we're actually brothers. Yeah. I can't. Yes. So
it only gets weirder. It's only gonna get weirder.
Yeah. If you join to get some kind of education, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but hopefully. So yeah, dude, you hit me up for the blood. You hit me up for the blood test.
Well, back on track here. Yeah, I got my bloods done. There was a bunch of numbers and things and letters on this piece of paper that I had no fucking idea how to interpret, so I sent it to you to interpret. And
I remember, dude, it was like 1 o'clock or 1 a.m. in the morning. It was like, yo, just by the way, I just get this blood test. I was like, okay, we've gone and done this. Do you know what so the first thing with this though was like, let's try and make this educational. The first thing with this is, I think, just highlighting exactly what you said. Just to start with this, you're 33, and you just wanted to like check on your health and kind of like prioritize that. And I think, most of our listeners could be into that range. They are, hopefully. God, I hope we're not like the TikTok range, but we're definitely into that like mid 30s, around that like over 30-year-olds. Let's say 28 and plus. So Luigi brings our average age down significantly.
But he's actually married, so like his actual age, his biological age is different than his like in real life age. He's like 44. So
his character, his avatar age is 18, but his in life age, that could get really weird. So yes, that's. Oh fuck! So I think then the importance behind this is understanding that like as you get older and as you do age, it's like being proactive with these things. And I think that's like the super important aspect of this is let's be proactive with health. Like we can do training, we can do nutrition, we can do like all of these things. But it's like, if you don't really check under the hood, like, you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know what to change. You don't know what to start looking at. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, my arm hurts, or my hip hurts, or my back hurts. It's like, okay, maybe it's your training. Maybe it's the load management. Like, we can talk all that. That's great. But it's like, let's take a snapshot of what's going on internally with blood tests, and then we can start looking at interventions. Notice I mentioned snapshot, and I think that's a super important thing in this. Is you can go, like, the pendulum shift of this is everyone like looks at blood work and they go, oh, it's completely wrong, everything's fucked up. And it's like, hold on, it's a snapshot. It's not like right now, like the time that you take your blood test to the time that you get it interpreted, or like the way that it comes back to you received in the results, dude, things change in your body in that time period. Now, that's why it gives us an indication. It's a diagnostic tool. It's the same thing as like when we look at images, you know, you look at an MRI, you look at something like that. Yes, it's there and then, but you know, anything happens in that time period. And I think that's it. It's not what's the word? It's not static. It kind of changes. Like free testosterone, we know, for example, free or total testosterone, which is one of the markers that we checked with you. One of the ones that I really want to dive into with you predominantly, it changes like within the day. It's like the time that you take, or the time that you go and you get your blood test done matters for trying to get the most accurate results. It's like your free testosterone and total testosterone is kind of like at its peak, the closest to waking in the morning. That's why, like, do you remember the sidebar? Do you remember one of the first biofeedback metrics that I ever mentioned in any lab, any prescript thing, and everyone laughed their head off? And I will never
forget.
And it's like,
I will never forget.
Yeah. And
yeah,
as a male, you should morning wood.
Yes.
As a male, if you're not waking up with morning wood, it's like that's something to like. There's a lot of factors as to why that can't be happening, but it's a metric to start playing on. It's like that's why we have morning wood. It's because like we're peak in testosterone, we have peak in terms of like our amount of free testosterone running through the system. So it's like that's why morning is good. Like morning is good wood. That's it. So you know, just it's a snapshot. That was quite a cool little rhyme. But
that's gonna be the title of this episode.
Okay, done. Morning is good. Good.
Yo, Mark, send this to your bro.
Yeah.
Oh, we're never gonna get there. We're never gonna get there.
We're never gonna get there. Anyways, so the idea is though that like blood tests are a snapshot, but they give us a really good indicator in terms of like what we're looking for, what's going on, what interventions do we need to start, or what do I need to retest for? And I think that's also super important when you start looking at blood work. It's indicators of like what's wrong. Why did we do blood work in the first place? Okay, in your case, it was, hey, it's preventative. You know, we're getting to a high age. Like you're inquisitive around that. There is the constant like, as you age, you lose testosterone, and like we're in strength sports, we don't want to do that. Like we think like testosterone is very closely coupled with like being strong and jacked. So it's always in the back of your mind. Like there's so much education and so much good around stuff like testosterone replacement therapy, and keeping your levels at that higher point, or like at least at a constant point within. It looks at there's bone health, there's brain health, there's even like heart health kind of comes into like your testosterone levels as a male. Females as well they have to have testosterone. Their amount of testosterone is significantly less than a male, but the idea behind that is it's a marker, it's something for us to check. So you obviously sent me these blood tests like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I legit, straight up, no like full disclosure and permission to talk about your medical records in a public view.
Of course,
I'm hoping that
Dr.
McIntosh.
Yes.
Of course,
you have permission.
Doctor. No, but so like I joke, but at the same time, it's like if you are going to go down this, remember like this stuff. Even if you've got patients or you got clients who send you blood tests purely because like their doctor's taken and they send it to you and you don't even really know how to interpret it. Like, understand, like,
Mhm.
that's someone else's medical record. Like, from like HIPAA, I don't even know what it's called in South Africa, to be honest. I don't even think it's a thing, but whatever. It's a thing, but it's something.
They just pop your arm if you disclose it there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that
Too far.
primitive, but
Too
yeah, we'll
far.
go with that one. Too far.
Too far. I'm sorry.
I mean, it might be too far from me calling it primitive, but we'll just wait for whatever comes back on the podcast comes back. But the idea behind it is, like, you've now got your client's medical records. You've got information about them, like blood tests have, your birth date. They generally have like your home address. They have a whole bunch of things like that. Just be mindful that you've now got a personal documentation of someone. It's like, in theory, you're supposed to put that behind like an encrypted wall of like where you store it. Like, that's a thing in the States as well, like medical records or patient
Absolutely.
files.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of regulation
so that no one
around
can.
how
Yeah,
you have to protect that information. And the funny thing is
correct.
there's
Yeah,
just a bunch of like, trainers or coach on the internet that just like haphazardly have this stuff. So, but
sitting in
I
a
think it's
Google
equal
Drive.
part. Yeah, right. It's equal
Yes.
parts. Like if you're participating in this as an athlete or as someone that's sending it to them, it's like, there's some level of consent there, hopefully. But yeah, it seems like it's becoming a more and more common practice. Oh God.
It is an unfortunate. Here it's full disclosure. It's like I've got no medical training other than like my EMT training. I've got no blood work training. And you
Right.
sent me your blood work. It's like I look at a lot of blood work. I consult with a lot of doctors, like actual doctors,
Yeah.
endocrinologists, like those types of things, because I want to learn. I'm
Yeah.
inquisitive about it. I like that side of it. I'm not making recommendations. I'm not saying like, or I'm not making prescriptions of like, don't take this drug and all that.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's not what I'm doing. But I like I'm not going to say holistic approach, but I like the wholehearted, the full approach of like having a look at like the snapshot of what's going on within your system. So it's like, let's have a look from
I
a
think that's a
health
really
thing. Let's see.
valuable approach.
Yeah, it's
So I think
the
there's a little bit of a lag there.
non-holistic, the non-holistic, but holistic. I don't know how to say it without sounding like just like a fairy. I'm not a
Just say it,
holistic
man. Just
coach,
say
and
it.
no one needs.
Yeah.
Just
No, you're not that.
don't.
You're not that. You're not waving
No.
crystals. You're not doing any of that stuff. But I think it's actually funny because the difference is I have had professional level training around reading blood labs. And it's just something I'm not comfortable doing.
Yeah.
It's something I don't do whatever. But it's something that you have much more experience and you've talked to professionals about it, and it's something just because you actually apply it day after day, or it's something that you're interested in learning about. I feel much more comfortable having you interpret this than I do, which is, I like the way that you talk about it
it's
as a snapshot, though, right? Because it's the way that tells me that we need to use this information is it's not just, this isn't, we took the blood test, this is you forever, right? Kind of how people treat
yes.
specific diagnoses in like, a disc injury or something like that is, I have a bad back now forever. No, this is a snapshot of how your bloods looked on this given day with all the contributing factors. Now we need to have some level of intervention if it's something worth intervening, and we need to retest that over time and see the trajectory or the trend with the changes that we're making, as opposed to just looking at this and be like, yeah, on high testosterone, you're good forever. So I think the more important part of that is understanding and being able to build associations with, okay, this is what's going on right now, but what's contributing to that? What are the lifestyle factors? What is your stress levels? What's your diet like? What's your exercise like? What are the things that are contributing to you being able to regulate your body in this way at this time? And what do we need to change if we want to, I'll say the dumb word too, is we want to optimize that, or we want to get changes, or we're looking for specific results out of this. So what do we need to change? And we can build associations between the lifestyle factors and those specific markers in the bloods, and then we can retest down the line. So that's the part that I really like about what you're saying about this is a snapshot. This isn't you forever. This is you in this specific moment. Now let's do some investigation to see what kind of associations or correlations we can build, and let's change some things and see what the results look like 3-6 months down the road.
And that's exactly what it is, dude. Like, it's the snapshot now to then start getting me to ask better questions, to then get better answers, to then look at I like the associations. Like, that's essentially we're talking about habits and we're talking about things like that, but associations to me, it makes so much more sense because it's like you have poor sleep. I know that your testosterone is going to be in the tank because sleep is one of the associations with free testosterone around that. It's like, it's a habit. It's like, from your side, I know your sleep patterns well-ish, but I know your sleep patterns when it's like, dude, you sleep well. You don't sleep like this asshole over here. Like, you sleep really
the
well.
guy
It's
that's up
that's
at 1
why
a.m. when I send him my bloods.
Exactly. But it's like your free testosterone was over the 1,000. Like, it was 1,008 nanograms per deciliter. 1,008. So it's like,
that's good,
now,
right?
like,
Did I win the game?
I'm interested. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. You know what my thing is with that? There's so many people out there who are like, oh, let's optimize like male testosterone to get them back into the 1,000 stuff like that. It's like, dude, you're just walking around doing it. It's like, that's the play right there. That's the funniest thing I think I've ever, like, when you sent that to me, I was just like, this dude's either been secretly on the source and like, I'm gonna kick him in the nuts because he didn't tell me and I can't help him from that side, or like, fuck this guy because he's walking around with over 1,000 nanograms per deciliter testosterone, and he's just like looks like a normal human but could not be a normal human. I was just like, yeah, I fucking hate you on both aspects if that's the case. And casually, also,
I love you.
It was the perfect way of how you did it. Like, I think you were in Bangkok, or just landed in Bangkok. Is that what I think that's when it was?
That's
when it was. Dude. You were waiting for Shallow, and like, you just were like, oh yeah, by the way, and you sent this to me, and like, just casually, like, oh yeah, so is it good? I was like, what the fuck?
Yo, the thing is, like, I didn't know. Like, it's in my brain, the range was like, okay, that seems all right, but also, like, I don't know if that's normal, and I don't know if I have a tumor somewhere. That's like the range in my brain.
I'm like, perfectly okay, tumor. All right, there's no in between of like if we're okay or not. It's just like, fine.
Yeah. I feel okay, but it's probably cancer.
Yeah, if you Google high testosterone, you'll probably find like tumor on pituitary gland, some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm done for it from that side. But you know what? The biggest thing to me was like, I started when I saw that, and then I thought about it like the next day. I then went to sleep and then thought about it the next day. It's like, dude, you tick the box of like, I don't know, 8 of the 10 type of things, maybe more, maybe less, of like what to do to optimize your testosterone. That you do that already, and like it shouldn't surprise me. You have those associations that you were kind of talking about. It's like,
right.
And I think that's like, I shouldn't have been as surprised as I was. Like, I was, but I wasn't as surprised as I was from that side.
Right. And it's funny because I associate with a lot of people that do a lot of drugs. And it's something that I just, yeah, all kinds, not just testosterone or steroids.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that it's almost been a pride point for me that I've like gotten strong without doing steroids. And it's not something that I'm against in any way, but honestly, that's like kind of where my head was at when I got the blood test. Is like, and this is so funny because this is another aside before I even get into what I was going to say, is it was almost placebo on both sides. Is that before I got it tested, I'm like feeling run down, feeling tired, like feeling like I'm not having progress in the gym. I'm like, it's got to be low testosterone. Like, maybe it's time that I can get on testosterone. So like, I got the blood test and then I got the results and I'm like, shit, my testosterone is actually high. And it's like placebo immediately in the other direction. Like, fuck this, I'm going to turn myself into a monster. Like, I'm going to get as big as I can, as strong as I can, just because I can't waste this opportunity. So it's like, it's crazy to see like the shift in mindset with that. Go ahead.
Well, and that's exactly it. That's what I was going to say. The mindset association with that, once again, is like, oh, I have high test. Okay, I'm fine. I can carry on. Here's the thing, though. So if we had to go and like really dive into like when you took those bloods and everything going off that, it's like you were hammering training, my understanding, around that time of the bloods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
I was on a pretty
I'd-
good uptick too. I was getting stronger.
yeah, you were getting stronger. Everything was kind of going in that direction. I'd be super interested to tell if you had like a good rest period before you had those bloods done. Like not even, I don't want to say a deload, but like maybe some kind of like maybe starting your next phase, like a decrease in the amount of overall stress that was going into the system. It's like I'd put some money on it that you're probably close to that.
And so that's actually a really interesting point that you make, because I was on a big, like, I was on the way up for a while leading into that. And then you're right. I sent them to you when I was in Bangkok, and I kind of peaked my training right before Bangkok. I pulled back probably 2 weeks before. That's when I sent the bloods in. I got them back the following week and sent them to you. And it's actually interesting is that the fact that even since then, I've pulled back my training even more, and I've been able to put on more weight, which I haven't gotten any objective metrics around, but it definitely feels like muscle. Like I've put on more muscle. I'm able to maintain that with more ease, and I'm continuing the upward trend of getting stronger. And I'm training 3 times a week right now, which is the least I've trained in 2 decades of being in the gym.
So here, there's a couple factors that you just described an SRA curve.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how this kind of that's like, I love the theory of like you've done this a few times, but like the SRA curve for life. And I think that's the most important thing. Is like stress is, I don't want to be the whole, like, again, I don't want to be the holistic coach where it's like, oh,
you're coming out stress. You're coming off so holistic right now.
I know it's what else do you want? Hold on.
Oh,
not holistic.
There we go. Will cause
you didn't think that was what was coming out? Hey,
I did not think
what you
I
thought was
will not
coming
say
out.
what I thought it was, but that's good. It gets the point across almost as well as the other.
Yeah, it gets the point across. The idea behind the idea is that like stress is in our everyday environment. Like the body doesn't know the difference. It has no idea. Right. It's not it's the smartest structure we have, but it doesn't know the difference between, like, you know, your girlfriend fighting with you and you trying to max out your clean and jerk. It doesn't know the difference. Like it doesn't know the difference from like a stress response type of thing. But this is why understanding, like, relating it back to the SRA curve, and when I look at it, it makes so much sense. It's like, dude, you've come up. It's been a hard, not a hard life. I don't want to say it's been a hard life, dude. You've had your fair share. I didn't know where you were going to
go with this, by the way. Yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go. I've been dealt shit in the past. Yeah. I won't ever sell my struggles to be harder than someone else's, but I've had, relative to my level of stress, I've had some shit. So absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, but you've had to deal with it. And like at that time, like everything else is kind of, you've stayed to associations, everything that. But think about like an SRA curve. We need to kind of go through these periods of stress to peak it, to get better at things. It's like the body will respond in a positive manner. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to go out and look for stress, because they'll probably have a heart attack and die. But understanding it, like, your environment dictates these things. Like, we've seen it. Like, dude, I've got clients, and I've seen it of like people who, I don't want to say protected, but kind of like pussification. Can we say that? I'm gonna say it. Anyways,
you can say whatever.
Like, I know individuals, and I know like individuals who have like just had it, like, I don't want to say easy, but have had it like relatively easy in comparison to soft. And I don't like comparing people's stresses and stuff like that. I agree. Like, do what you want to do. It is what it is. It's your life. Don't hurt kids. It's like, the mothers don't hit women and children, otherwise you're gonna get fucked up. That's as simple as it is. And dogs. But if you get to that point of like your life you haven't accrued some form of stress in it, I've always seen time and time again, I don't know if there's a correlation other than my thought process of like SRA curve, like these things have to kind of create a response, like a hardening or a positive response from that side. It's like, you're just a pussy. And generally, like that's correlated with like a lower or higher testosterone. Like you can just handle more from that side. Anyways, what I was trying to get at from that is you would have been in a recovery phase when you went and had your blood work done. That was a super tangent. But anyways, the idea is like you
That's
would
all
have
this
had
podcast
coming
has
off that
been.
peak. It really is like a back and forth. This is how
Yeah.
imagine spending a week with us in Miami, because this is how this works. This
Yeah.
is how this is it. This is the snapshot, except we're not walking
Yo.
around fucking getting killed by people.
Yeah. Oh man, Vegas is gonna be great.
Yeah. All right. So the idea is that you came off this very high training, and like you probably did tank your test slightly. Remember, if I had taken a snapshot of you right there and then with your training, you probably would have been at an abnormal level for what you're used to, or what your body is used to from that side. Strength training. So this is the funny thing with like strength training decreases your test. It can also increase your test, but it generally decreases your testosterone when you're hammering yourself into the ground, as you were.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding like that's part and parcel. That's how this thing's going to occur. You took a 2-week deload, and whatever, you brought down volume from that side, and you went through the SRA curve, and you recovered, and now you were like peaking again. Essentially, it's like in competitive forms, in like what we would want. It's like, dude, that week of Bangkok, you'd be ready to fucking go type scenario.
Yeah.
And pretty similar,
That's
like
so
you can see it
true.
from a blood work perspective.
Yeah, and I have after just having this part of the conversation, we haven't finished the conversation, but I have such a different outlook on this than I did in getting the bloods done. My mindset getting them done is like, I need to see where I'm at, or I want to see where I'm at, because I don't want this to be something that's going to affect my training. But thinking about it in this very logical way that you've laid out, I've experienced all of this my entire life, and I know that when I'm training too hard and I need to pull back, is by the Mac metric, is what is it?
Yes.
Morning wood is
Good
good.
morning wood.
You
Morning
said
wood
something
is
better.
good. Yeah, I think what did you say?
Whatever it was
Good
before.
morning. Yeah, fuck. We'll find it. Morning wood is good. Like that's it. That's what we're looking for.
So you build associations like, all right, the morning wood's not good. Like, I feel like shit. I'm pissed off all day. Like, I have brain fog. I have no mental capacity. I'm having a hard time, like, doing the things I need to do. I'm just tired all the time. It's like, oh, you know what? Maybe don't train so hard so you can actually go through and you could come up on that adaptation and then get back to it. But it's being able to recognize, and you mentioned something earlier that I definitely want you to expand on, being able to recognize and build associations between how you're feeling, how you're performing, and what might be happening on a biological level that's contributing to that. Is that you're probably just hammering yourself into the ground. Your stress hormones are probably pretty high. Your sex hormones are probably dropping, and you're just having a hard time actually recovering, and recovering in the sense of what's going on with your hormones, what's going on in the cellular level that's not allowing you to recover. But the thing that you said earlier that I'm very interested, you said there's a list of like 10 things that you associate with testosterone levels. Do you know those off the top of your head?
No, not
Let's
off the top
go.
of my head, but we can go like there's basic ones from that.
All
It's
right,
like sleep. Sleep is the most basic one from that side. It's like it's and I know your sleep patterns are really good, but food.
Yeah. Okay.
Nutritional density food, like actual having good micronutrients, good kind of vitamins from that side. It's like, dude, you eat steak every night. It's like, fuck anyone who tells me that having too much like steak is going to be bad for you. Now, I'm not saying have steak every meal, but the amount of the amount of vitamins
high
and
quality
nutrients
too,
that
like
we get,
grass-fed meat.
and that's it. Yeah, you're getting good quality meats in on a daily basis. You sleep really well from that side. You don't eat shit. Like you don't. Like and even at your output level, like you could probably afford to eat a little bit like dirtier, if we were to use a fucking stupid word. But you eat really well. Like your quality of food is really good. It's like, did you sleep well? You get nutrients in. You're not an idiot with your training. And I think like that's we were getting to that in terms of like the training aspect. You go through periods periods of your life of trying to increase and trying to push phases, peaks, these types of things. That's weightlifting. That's the sport. And like you have to, otherwise you're just going to be a mediocre little fucking bitch. And I feel like that's worse. That is worse.
Yeah, that's way worse.
But the idea
Yeah.
behind it is like understanding that, like, I know your training's good, I know your diet is good, I know that your sleep is good. It's like that's like the base foundation. Then let's kind of have a look at like, okay, what is your stress response? And this is kind of what I was referring to earlier. It's like, dude, yeah, you've had a fucking, like, I know you personally from that side. You've had a hard fucking like time. You haven't had the easiest time. You haven't had the worst time, but you haven't had an easy time. Now, the way that I look at that, though, is like you handle stress really well. And that's what I'm getting at from this perspective is you were kind of brought up with like a higher stress level. Like it's there. You have this like your tolerance window, if you were. So if we've got like a tolerance window or a range, it's like because you were introduced to it and you are exposed to it and like it just was daily living, it's kind of like, normal stress doesn't equate to that. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at with this whole like harder life, trying to like the SRA curve and something. It's like you need, for an SRA curve when it works, it's like I need to introduce a stressor that is greater than what I am used to or my body understands. Or like introduce the stressor or, take away some of the nutritional values or take away some of the stuff that like doesn't help the recovery. If everything was the same, if everything stayed equal, food was the same, everything like that, I need to introduce another stressor. Your life, you have a baseline stress function higher than that of like, fuck, shit's going, like my car tire pops or some stupid shit like that. It's like, what? It doesn't fucking matter.
I have such a real representation of this. It's so funny that you said your car tire, because this past weekend, I'm an idiot. Let me preface it with this: is that I booked flights. So Marshall's wedding, I booked a red eye Friday night. His wedding's on Saturday, but not only a red eye with a changeover. So I had like a 2.5 hour flight, an hour and a half window, and then like a 4.5 hour flight. So like I slept 0 hours on that night. Got into Toronto like 6 a.m. Thank you. I got compliment on that. Got in Toronto like 6 a.m. Go to a coffee shop, just fucking pound coffee all morning. Meet up with Matt Penny. We like get a little bit of work done. We go get some lunch. We're at lunch. I get this call from my neighbor. She's like frantic as hell. I'm like, fuck, what the hell happened? What's going on? And like probably 10 minutes later, she gets it out that my car got broken into while I was gone. And like she's going on like so frantic, like clearly has no exposure to stressors like that, right? And the two different responses, me on the phone like, okay, can you close it up, make sure the lights are off so the battery doesn't die, and I'll take care of it when I get home on Sunday. And she's like going crazy, like asking me all these questions. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like they're not there, no harm done. Like I can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it right now. Just close it up and I'll be back on Sunday. And that's it. Yeah. And that's like two different people. Yeah. It's like hasn't been exposed to very much stress or like stressful situations like that in her life. And I've been hit in the head a lot of times. And if there's no inherent danger, then it's okay. Everything is okay. Like no one's going to hit me in the head right now. So please just close the door and I'll take care of it when I get home. And like, that's it. Yeah, but that's like, that's a perfect example. Yeah. Yeah. It's a perfect example of how people deal with stress, right? If you just lose your mind and you can't deal with stress, then it's going to be hard for you to control these adaptations, because that's, in my mind, the wild card when it comes to training in general, because you can regulate your diet. You have full control of your diet. You have full control over your sleep in most scenarios. And even if you think you don't, you probably do more than you think you do. But the thing that I think there's going to be an inherent difference, and a difference that's harder to pinpoint or change, is how people deal with stress. It's not like I'm not going to tell my neighbor to go get in a couple street fights just to just to
Start up in
understand
a
what a
legal
stressful
boxing ring.
situation is. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm
This
not
old
gonna
lady
say
like
that.
coming out of her
That's
house.
yeah.
Ugh,
And a
fuck.
lot of times, actually, that's what exercise is us
Correct.
helping to kind of rank our stress and expose ourselves to stressful situations or more stressful situations over time and being able to adapt to them. So like in both scenarios, like in life, I've been in stressful situations and I can handle them with a relatively steady hand. Not the steadiest, but more steady than most. In the gym, I'll fucking kill myself with a barbell. I don't care. There is no stress that I won't be able to handle. So it's like being able to understand these and being able to recalibrate where you're at on that, if we go RPE like 0 to 10, what's your
Just
true
a-
10, like understanding that, whether it's life, whether it's your car being broken into, whether it's your clean and jerk. I think that's the part that a lot of people struggle with, is being able to rank and regulate their stress.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at from that. Like you put that so eloquently around, and the example and the real time example of that is exactly what I'm referring to. It's like, dude, I know people who just have not been punched in the face enough and have not. And I don't. We say this figuratively, but also figurative, like literally at the same time. But they just haven't like been
Yeah, we mean it
exposed to that
literally.
stressor. So like
Yeah.
when stress occurs, like their response is so shit. It's like, yeah, you sit there and you're like, bro, just fucking get on with it type scenario. And I'm mindful of like the way that I speak about these types of things because once again, who am I to judge anyone upon their response? Their things that have happened in their life. Like, I've got guys who have seen like their mates blown up and shit like that in like war and like over in Iraq.
Mm,
It's like those dudes have got a stress response. It's like, and like anything, so I kind of like I'm always mindful around that because I don't ever want to look at like comparisons or say like your stress is worse than someone else's. You can't say that. But what you
right,
can do is
right.
like of your background of being exposed, your background of exposure of stress allows you to make better decisions when stressful scenarios come up. I think like that's a fair thing just to kind of like look at saying, it's like, because your baseline's higher. So when like it takes that much more to tip over the scale or like add to like the cup that then kind of falls over the brim because the stress doesn't equate to what your baseline is. It's like, dude, your car got broken
Right.
into. Okay. Did they steal the radio?
Yeah.
Fuck. That's it. Like that's kind of like the
Yeah.
response that would be. It's like, oh, no one's hurt, no one's injured. Sick. Close the door. I'll sort it out next week. That's the response. Like
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
would do fuck all to your testosterone. A good old
Right.
lady over there, like, okay, fair enough. Whatever. Her T's probably fucking tanked, anyways. Like was up the whole night worrying about if someone's gonna break into her house. 100%. I put
Yeah.
money on it. Like
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
she's
Hmm.
had like a shit week, and she's probably on fucking the Facebook forums and trying to whatever. That's probably what's happening. But her response
Hmm.
to the stress will tank her sex hormones. It's like now we've tanked her
Yeah.
sex hormones. It's like now her sleep's going to be shit. She's probably going to emotional eat from that side as well. It's like you can see how like this whole spiral kind of occurs. And the more and more I look at it, the more and more like I look at this whole fucking holistic approach. It's like how your background in your exposure to stress helps dictate your response to it, which then kind of dictates the association of all of these other things, like how your sleep patterns are going to be, how is your like what's your dietary requirements going to be, what's your training outlets going to be. It's like all of these things kind of matter, and that's why like going into it's like cool. I know your base foundations are good, but I also know your base foundations are good because of your exposure to your stress and the way that you work with it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
kind of how I look at
Absolutely.
it.
And I think that's yeah. And it's something that I think is very individual, but I don't know, man. I've come so full circle on how I react to things. Like I used to just not give a fuck about anything, like when I was younger, and then I got like super reactive, probably like I don't know, like early 20s, probably until not too long ago, and now I'm just like back in this place. Like, all right, is there something actionable that I can do right now to deal with this? And if the answer is
Yep.
no, then like fuck it. Like I'll do something when I can do something, of course, but I'm not going to spend time worrying about something I can't do anything about. Like what good is that in any scenario?
Well,
So yeah, I think that's a huge
it's
thing.
the I call that like it's part of like risk. It's risk evaluation because that's what that is. And this is like it's funny. I had a conversation with Shello about this. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's like risk evaluation is like what we're actually good at, but we're also good at risk evaluation because of the past stresses. It's like when you walk down a dark alley and you've got two dudes coming toward and they look, you're like, fuck, I shouldn't have walked down here. It's like you can assess what's kind of coming from that side. But it's like my risk evaluation, and when I say like the way that I correlate this with risk evaluation is like, okay, can I do something about it right now? No. Why am I going to let it stress me? I'm going to put it like in the back of my head. It's there. It sits there. It probably has some amount of, or like a numeral, whatever, a 1 out of 10 of stressor. It sucks. Fuck. I know that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But right now, there's no point in me going like, hey, my cap or my threshold of like from my 5 to 10, so call it like 5 points of cap that I have with my way that I respond to stress. The one that's just kind of come along that I don't really can do anything about. It's like I'm not going to give it the time, the attention, the stress response that it doesn't need. I'm going to save that for when it needs to come. That's something that's actionable, has a resource, has a logical solution to right there and then, because then I can fix it, I can get it done, and then I can move on, and it's now not a stress anymore. Or it then moves back into that further one, and like it's the lesser level of stress again. It's the risk evaluation. It's like, how fast can I make this a non-threat to whatever, like myself as a being, so that I can continue going forward.
Yeah, I really like that analogy, and I like the fact that the thing that's going to make this non-stressful is taking action to make it non-stressful. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short with this, is that they're unwilling to take action against things that are uncomfortable. So they just compile. And there's all these things that are like maybe minor stressors in someone's life, but it contributes and it adds up to being just a major stressor built of 1,000 paper cuts that are going to bleed you out. Yeah,
And
exactly. So I think being able to recognize those things is very important, so you can take action and just start to sort those things out.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And it's like that's where the questions around like, what is your lifestyle? What's the upbringing? What the background? What work have you done? Like all these things, knowing your background, knowing parts of like what you've gone through, so that I just know that like, okay, cool, like it's stressful right now. I was like, he's got it, but there's also a time and a place where I'm like, okay, as a coach, if I were like understanding like what your responses are, it's like I'd be like, okay, maybe we need to pull back on certain things. Dude, you're training 3 days a week right now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Think about like in an SRA curve with everything going on. If you were trying to train more, what would happen? The negative outcome would occur from that side. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it.
I've slept in 6 different cities the last 6 weeks. I've been on a flight every week, every Friday, Monday, and I'm still training. And the thing is, I'm still training and I'm still increasing week over week because I've been mindful enough to care about my diet on the road, care about my sleep, prioritize that as much as I can, even though I'm taking these dumbass red eyes, and then to pull back on the training to do only what's necessary to allow myself to continue progress, which I think is, I'm able to do this because I have a very true read on my abilities because I've been doing this for so long. But this is the stuff that most people they don't have the awareness, or I think I mentioned this on the last podcast that I did with Bagheera, is there's so many unknown unknowns, right? The people that are trying to go through this and trying to have progress is they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know. And that's why they need to hire someone like Coach James Mack, because you can account for this. You can identify this. You can see these things coming before they even know it's going to be a factor. They might never know it's going to be a factor, and they'll run into roadblocks, plateaus, injuries, whatever it might be, that less favorable training outcomes because they're not accounting for these things simply because they don't know that they need to. So that's the value of having someone like you in their corner.
Yeah, and honestly, that comes from experience. that comes
Yeah.
from doing the stupid shit. But I think, in your case, it's the athletic mindset. It's like, dude, you have been an athlete. Fuck, when was your dad kind of like training you guys? You were running around in the fucking garden, like just like fighting and wrestling. Anyways, like that, I kind of look at that from young. From we call it lighties.
Young, dude.
The idea behind that is,
I never had a chance, dude.
yeah, you didn't have a chance, but like in a positive way from that. It's like that's the association that you build. It's like your body better than anyone, but at the same time, like with your background, everything it is, like you do have these good habits and you have these associations. It's like, and honestly, that's the reason why your test is the way it is. It's like because you continue. There's going to be a time where it will naturally come down. It's like, sick. Because then you're going to be able to do. But the beauty of this, though, and this is why, like, dude, like I want to say like a rare gem. There's another fucking random compliment for the fucking
that means a lot to me.
You're a rare gem from that perspective.
You have a really good energy that you're putting off right now.
Yeah, it must be my amethyst or my fucking the amethyst.
Yeah.
That's the one.
What's your sign?
It's my amethyst that's been charging. I
What's
don't
your
know. Fucking I don't know that shit. Do you know? I said the boys something. You were part of this. I know we're not going to go into that. We're not going to go into that. Anyways,
we'll talk about that off
and
air.
like we'll talk about it off air. But the idea is like, fuck, I don't even know where I was fucking going with that. You just pulled me off course.
Completely derailed. I think you were talking about my aura and my energy and how it aligns. I don't know.
Basically,
man. You're getting super
just
holistic.
dude, like just from the stress response.
Yeah, let's get this back on the rails. But I 100% agree with what you're saying, and I've grown up with performance as a metric always. Whether it was baseball as a kid, whether it was wrestling, whether it was strength training. I got into strength training very young, like 10 years old. I always wanted to be strong, and it's something that has been a guiding principle in probably every decision I've made my entire life.
Yeah.
Which has led me to live a lifestyle that permits me performing at my best. Which, as we use that as a metric, you're going to have to sleep, or else it's just not going to happen. You're going to have a good diet. You're going to have to be mindful of your body and maintain things like range of motion, maintain your muscles, and understand how to regulate training around how you're feeling and how you're recovering. So these are all things that I've learned out of necessity so I can continue to perform at the level that I want to be able to perform. So that's what I relate all this back to. It's the accumulation of a lot of positive decisions around training for a really long period of time. And that's what it comes down to.
But that's it, dude. It's like it's consistency within that. But so here's the thing. If you took training out of the equation, like you could never kind of like think about that. But if you took training out of the equation from that, and you still had the associations of the training aspect, like you had all of the the sleep, the like performance, all of those types of things, it's like you'd still have a very high testosterone. You'd still like, I don't know what your other outlet was. Like if we had to just like remove that part of your brain that wasn't training, and hopefully it continued from that side. Now, just from my experience as a coach and all these types of things, I've never been able to see that. I've never seen someone who doesn't train have all of these other like associations that are in a positive manner. But if we had to do that and you still had the associations that you've picked up from that, dude, your test would still be high. Your health metrics would still be extremely good. It's like all of these things would be in that because you've built those habits. And I fucking hate the word, but like built the habits that correlate to the performance outcomes. It's like you've just taken something with those performance outcomes. So it's like you've done exactly what the base is by attaching it to something that you enjoy, which is obviously like the training and stuff like that. But the training allowed you to make sure that all of your habits and all your base outcomes were there, which is then going to increase your longevity, which then, as a male, increases your testosterone and keeps your testosterone at the high point for that amount of time. from a bone density standpoint is there. Your sleep, like the comorbidities of losing like an hour of sleep is through the roof. When time changes, so like daylight savings and shit like that, there's something, the amount of surgical errors that occurs, the amount of car accidents that occur, like it like doubles because of
That's
1
crazy.
hour time change. So it's like, okay, you can't tell me that sleep isn't important to you. And like, this is someone who fucking really struggles with sleep. Trust me, I wish I could. And like, here's the thing, you're right. It is your responsibility for sleep. Like everyone who kind of turns around and says, let's not say everyone, because there is like actual medical cases like insomnia and shit like that. I get that. But like part of it is making sure that you just deal with your shit. Stress response. Like, how do you respond?
Absolutely.
It kind of goes back to that same thing. It's like, dude, the guy who broke into your car, like, you don't really give a shit. Did you sleep that night after? Yeah, sick.
Dude,
because
I
it's
haven't
not
lost
the,
1
that's it.
second of
Doesn't
sleep over that.
exactly,
And he has, because he did it at like 3 a.m. So fuck that guy. He probably has low test.
Yes, but that's the whole point. It's like that's kind of like what I'm getting at. It's like, yeah, okay, training helped with these associations, but if you had these associations anyways, dude, you'd be in the same boat. It's
Right.
like, so I said 10 off the bat from that side. And there's other ones from that side. It's mental health, if you really do want to bring that in, like, and that comes to the stress response. Like, deal with your shit. It's your responsibility as a fucking human to go and deal with your shit. Okay, don't make it other people's problems from that side. Deal with it. Deal with it from that side and sick. And that's the only thing we're going to say about it. But it's like, deal with it, because that helps with your stress response, and that helps with like your longevity. It's like, you're also just not an asshole of a fucking human being in the world then. Which also correlates to being punched in the face less, which means you'll probably be around longer.
Right. There's a direct correlation to me going to therapy and me getting punched in the face. Like, more therapy, less punches to the face. So just putting that out there. Dental work is expensive in the States too, and I've had a lot of it. So
but that's it. Like, I don't know, dude. So instead of let's rewind and say, like, not 10, it's the foundational aspects: sleep, nutrition, training, stress response. I think that's it. Beautiful. Stress response. How you respond to stress. That's going to give you the testosterone of 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. That's it. That's how you do it. That's how you become Jordan Jiunta and have a really handsome chin. What a strong chin.
That's it. I attribute this chin to my testosterone.
So,
yeah. Awesome. I don't think there's much more that we need to say about it. I think if you can boil it down to those points, it puts the majority of this in your control, which I think people think that, especially when it comes to their biology or their hormone levels, they think it's out of their control. They think it's predetermined. They think it's 100% genetics, which it's not. Like, I mean, I can't lie. I have great genetics. My father, my grandfather, very able-bodied, very athletic, very strong. But I don't think that I would be this way if I didn't live the life that I lived. Right. Yeah. So it's a lot of this is in your control. And that's 100% of what we preach here, is that we'll say all the time is the goal is to outfunction bad structure or outfunction bad biology. It doesn't matter what it is you're a player in this game. You can have an impact on the results. So like you said early on, is take that snapshot if you're concerned, if you want the information, and then have some changes, make some changes, intervene, see what correlations you could build, see what associations you can make, take another snapshot, and refine that process over time. Is you'll get more specific time over time. Every time you take that snapshot, you'll be able to deepen your information. You have more data. You can make your associations more specific, and you can really make some changes. But it boils down to a couple things that are really in your control. So
100%.
That was unreal. I know we got off the rails a good couple of times there, but I think we got there. We definitely got there, Max. I appreciate you taking the time
snapshot into
today,
what we
man.
are like.
Yeah, exactly. Come hang out with us in Vegas, or don't. Probably, just don't.
Don't. I mean,
but if someone wants to get a hold of you, if they want to talk to you more, where can they find you, Mac?
Shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's underscore. It's at Coach James Mac, or shoot me an email at jmcintosh@predescript.com. That was a weird one.
Don't.
Why did you use my full surname in my email? Ugh. Anyways, it's fine to go
Man.
with that one.
I won't.
Those
I
two
won't tell
work.
them the name that you order Ubers under, but that's okay. We'll keep that under wraps for now.
That's another.
All right. So reach out to
That's a.
yeah. Reach out to
me,
Mac if you guys want to talk to him more. Such a valuable resource. Love you, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, bro.